Funny. Right. Good afternoon, Raymond. Just confirm where, just tell me to start. When were you born?
November the 22nd, 1905.
And where was that?
Newcastle on Tyne.
So, right, let's go to your parents first. And then, what were your parents what were your parents' names?
My mother was Zilla Kammer.
Can you spell that?
That was her surname, Kammer.
Yes.
Cammer.
Yes. And Zilla, that's how we should
Zilla. Sometimes it's Zilla, sometimes it's Zella.
Yes.
She had a cousin called Zilla, and I think her name was more Zella. I'm not sure what the origin is of that name. I have an idea, it's Spanish. So.
Right, perhaps
Yeah.
And you said your father's name was, give me?
Matthew.
Matthew Jacobs. And was the name Jacobs as far
Jacobs.
back as you know?
Well, I really don't know much of our past history, but I'm told that his grandfather, or his great-grandfather's name was Daniels, and because there were so many Daniels about at the time, they asked him to change it to Jacobs. So he became Jacobs.
Right. When did were your parents born in Britain?
Yes. My father was born in Newcastle, and my mother in Manchester. And my grandparents were also born in England, but further than that, I don't know.
So your third generation.
Yeah.
Your father's occupation?
He was a partner in a furniture factory in Newcastle.
And was he fairly prosperous? Did you?
I think so.
He was a partner.
Yes.
So you lived fairly comfortable house or servants?
I believe it was normal, but I really can't remember. But unfortunately, my father had a cycling accident when I was 4 or 5 years old, and from that time on, we were without a father. It was a fatal accident. He didn't die immediately. He died within a few years.
Okay. How big? I know you have one brother.
Bertram. Yes.
Brother, siblings?
Two sisters.
Four.
Yeah.
How about your Jewish religious affiliation?
Well, I was educated at West Norwood. Do you know West Norwood? You don't know it?
Not really.
Oh, I will give you more details. West Norwood was the home of the Jewish orphanage, or it was then called the Jewish Hospital and Orphan Asylum. And there is at present still an association of the old boys, of the old pupils of West Norwood, and their aim is charitable, to help old pupils. And it was situated in West Norwood. It's the south of London.
So you got a border there, your family is still in Newcastle?
No, my mother and the children, Bertram and sisters, lived in the north of London at that time. And I entered West Norwood when I was between 6 and 7 in 1912, and left when I was 14 in 1919.
Did you enjoy the business at school?
I enjoyed it. It was a very, well, it was like an orphan boarding school, very strict. Food was mostly meagre, but children do become hungry, naturally. But I think it was a very good school, and they gave us a very good Orthodox Jewish education.
Did your brother, Bertram, was he also there?
No.
Where was he educated?
I don't know where he was educated, but I think he left school fairly early, when he was about 13.
So you didn't be bored there, just here at home for the politics then?
No.
You
Inmates of this school never go home, as long as they're there. But I was lucky. I was allowed home for my bar mitzvah.
So you really lacked, obviously, you lacked a home during your childhood?
Yes, we had a visiting day once in 6 weeks. But I think we were treated very well there. And there are still a lot of people around who went to that orphanage, including some members of Parliament. For instance, Reginald Friesen, have you heard of him? He is from West Norwood, and I can't think of any other names.
How about your mother's influence then? How much did you...
Mother's influence? Well, as I say, she came to see me once in 6 weeks.
You didn't have a strong link then?
I shouldn't think so, no.
When did your mother die?
When did my mother die? 11 years ago.
She was quite old then.
95 and a half.
Can you go back a little, your grandparents, do you remember any of them?
Vaguely, I remember grandparents and granduncles and aunts. They all seem to be very well off and very nice people.
Oh, that's standard orthodoxy?
Yes.
And yes, obviously from Newcastle or Manchester, you don't remember them anything particularly individually?
Some lived in London. I remember an aunt, a grand aunt and uncle who lived in Kensington Gate. They had a beautiful apartment there, near the Albert Hall.
All Anglicized, not speaking Yiddish?
No, we never spoke Yiddish. In fact, I don't know a word of Yiddish.
Yeah. Right. So, obviously, I have the question about festivals, and you obviously observed all those in the orphanage and the couple.
Yes.
Not at home.
And we learnt Hebrew very well indeed. We had a synagogue in the orphanage, of course, and a very good headmaster who was also the cantor of the synagogue.
But being solely Jewish orphanage, you couldn't suffer any anti-Semitic effects during your boyhood there?
No.
So what happened when you finished at the orphanage?
Bertram came to fetch me, and
how much older was Bertram than you?
5 years older.
So he fetched you and...
Yes. And the first thing we did was we came to Hatch End. That was in 1919.
Why was that?
Well, we came to visit a cousin in Royston Park Avenue. Do you know where that is?
Yes.
And we came by the Bakerloo line to Hatch End Station. So that was in 1919. The Bakerloo line was at that time running to Watford, I think. And Hatch End Station was known as Hatch End for Pinner. Did you know that? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't, Pinner Station didn't exist then. And there wasn't much of a Hatch End either.
So you came, you visited this just a short, not a visit for a day, you mean, or you stayed?
A few days. After that, Bertram had been demobbed from the First World War. He had quite a good job, although he was only 19. He had quite a good job as a salesman in a carpet firm, and they helped him to buy a house in the north. So we all went up north.
That was with the whole, your sisters and your...
And my mother and Bertram. And our family lived there.
Where, which town?
In Wickham. Just outside Newcastle. A little village, actually.
You went back to your...
My home place, birthplace, yeah. And we had a very nice life there, but Bertram was very keen on gardening. I continued my education. I went to Rutherford College, Newcastle, for about 3 years. After that, I worked in the retail trade in Newcastle. I was 16 then.
Which type of trading?
As a general help, dog's body.
Inside, in what sort of shop?
A departmental store. I enjoyed that.
How many years?
I was there from 1922 until about 1924, or about 2 or 3 years. Anyway, I decided to go to London when I was about 18 to see the Wembley exhibition in 1924, and I went by bicycle, and while I was in London, this was during a holiday actually, while I was in London I obtained a post in a firm called Cookson & Co. of St Paul's Churchyard. Cooks. Yeah, Cooks, and it was a very big firm.
Oh, what?
Wholesale warehouseman. There was a big staff, and the younger members lived in a hostel in Blackfriars. So I got to know London very well indeed. During that time, I continued my education at evening schools. I went to the City of London College, which was then a branch of the London School of Economics, and the Central School of Art in Southampton Row.
Business subjects,
I continued my studies in French and various other subjects and general art.
Did you keep in touch Jewishly at this time? Did you join the congregation?
Oh yes, I must tell you about that. Very soon after I settled in London, I went to the LJS in St John's Wood and attended services there every Sunday. They had the Sabbath service on a Sunday. Did you know that? Yeah. Because I couldn't go on a Saturday, we worked on Saturday. And the services were taken by Lily Montague and Rabbi Mattock. And they also had alumni outings. With holidays, I went home to Wickham. About 1926 or thereabouts, Bertram was transferred to London by his firm, and Bertram asked me to look for a house. And I lighted upon a house in Halliwell Road, Northwood, number 48, Halliwell Road. And so the family took up residence there in 1927.
And your sisters still unmarried? And sisters unmarried?
Yes, they were younger than myself. I was then about 19 or 20. They were about 16.
Your mother was still keeping house and cooking for the...
Yes, that's right. And Bertram was working hard. Incidentally, my sisters both got very good jobs in Rothschilds. In the bank, yeah. They did quite well there. I applied for a position and I obtained a post in the retail business in Penang, Malaya, in 1927. And from 1927 until 1962, I remained overseas in various countries.
Can you tell me the main countries that you started in Malaysia?
Well, it was not known as Malaysia then. It was actually, we called it Malaya, but it was the Federated Malay States. And I was stationed in various parts in Malaya, Singapore, Java, and I was in a town called Surabaya in Java, and there I met my wife Tina in 1935, and a year later we got married. In 1962 we retired from the East and came to Hatch End to live.
You were rather out of touch with your family for that rest of the year?
Well, we used to come home on leave, and we corresponded very well, actually.
Did they go out to visit you?
Bertram once made a visit to Australia on business, and he stopped at Singapore, and we met him there. We found the climate very steamy. Of course, we were quite used to it.
Yes. And what exactly you were essentially what, a trader, were you? Not a
Well, I started off as a salesman in the retail and ended up as a manager, branch manager. Eventually I became a general manager of the whole of Malaya. The name of the firm was Right Away Labour Law. So, yes, the firm in the East. They had branches throughout the East and in Africa.
I suppose in those days, did you keep in touch with Jewish communities there, or there wasn't much?
It was very difficult. There was a Jewish community in Singapore, and I believe there was one in Penang, but I didn't keep in touch.
You were living sometimes in the town, sometimes in smaller villages?
Nearly always in towns or very small towns.
You say you probably found the Jews, such as they were. What were the communities of people like yourself, or maybe?
They were British, Indians, Malays, and Chinese. Chinese had preponderance, but very few Jewish people.
May I ask, was your mother, your family unhappy to
Oh, never.
marriage out faith?
No, never.
You've obviously had a happy marriage. Your wife has shared your existence out there. And what children? I've got one of your daughter is here. What was her name?
Margaret.
You've got other children? Or?
Another daughter called Anne. They're both married. Margaret lives in Stanmore, and she is a probation officer. Anne lives near Woodbridge, Suffolk, and her husband is a research officer in the British Telecoms.
And have either of those daughters retained any Jewishness, or did you try to?
No, not at all. My wife is a Roman Catholic, actually, and there's no Jewish influence in the family.
So when you came back here in 1962, you said?
Yes.
Was it difficult to adjust to life in...
Not at all. We settled very easily. And in 1964, I became a member of the synagogue here, and I joined the choir, and we had services at West House, and later on we went to Halliwell Road.
So you came back to this area because Bertram was living?
No, we came back to this area because we liked it. We looked everywhere for a house, and they happened to be building some houses in St. Thomas's Drive, and we snapped up one of them.
Do you have any, is your life now, do you have other hobbies or interests other than your business?
I was a keen photographer. I think the choir took up quite a lot of time. Yes, but when I retired, actually I retired several times, I took up painting. Of course, that is dead and...
You paint all these paintings here.
That's right. Yeah.
At least, and you've got probably not many more
Oh,
elsewhere and
dozens
away
of
to friends and
yes,
nice hobby.
yes.
Did you learn professionally at all? Or
Well, as I say, I did have art lessons when I was young at the Central School of Art.
What happened to you during the Second World War? Where were you then?
Oh, well, we were in Java. I was already married then, of course, but I had no children. The Japs entered Java in 1942, just after the fall of Singapore. They entered by the north coast, and we managed to get out by the south coast, and we reached Australia.
Refuge there till the war ended then?
Yes, I worked there. Actually, I joined up with the American Army, but not as a soldier, as a shipping accountant.
Had you lost, when you went back, did you go back to Java and found your house?
We lost that. We had a flat, which we lost entirely.
They devastated it.
Yeah.
So you, I suppose, you suffered fairly materially, but you escaped with your lives.
Yes, we were very lucky, and we were very lucky to reach Australia. I moved with the American Army from the south of Australia up to the north, where they launched their offensive against the Japs, against New Guinea and the various islands. And we lived in Townsville at their base. Tina was with me. And in Townsville, in the north of Australia, my daughter Margaret was born.
And Anne was born later.
Anne was born in Highgate in London at the end of the war, when we came back.
Then you went out to the east again.
In 1948, we returned to the east again.
So, do you have any thoughts in general upon life in the East and your travels and your trading
Well, I must say we enjoyed our life in the East.
You got on with the people there?
It's a very nice life. I joined the Rotary Club, and my wife was a member of the Inner Wheel, which is the ladies' branch. And by being in Rotary, you mix with everybody, every race, and we all got on very well together, and it's a very good experience.
Perhaps can I go back to, yes, what happened? Your sisters, did they get married, did they marry?
Oh, yes.
What are their married names? Where are they?
One sister married Edward Angel, who lives in Northwood now, but she died a few years ago.
What's her first name?
Doris Angel.
And,
My other sister Dorothy now lives in Brighton. She married Dimmock Lewis, Lewes.
they married happily, so they didn't contribute anything of such measurable to, well, to Anglo-Jewish life like your father did.
No.
Can you tell me a bit more your something about Bertram as you saw him? Can you go back to the... You told me he was in the war first. If he did the First World War, what did he do in that?
I think, see, I was at West Nord at that time, so I can't say anything with certainty, but I think he became a cadet, an officer's cadet, when he was 17, and he joined the officers' training corps, and he was in a regiment called the Inns of Court, which I believe is a member of the Guards. It's a Guards regiment. But this was regular army, of course. Unfortunately, Bertram had an accident when he was training. He was wounded by a bayonet in his knee, and he spent quite a time in hospital in London. But he recovered by the end of the war. But he was not able to see active service.
And then you said he became a carpet salesman, and I know he had a distinguished career in the carpet
trade, yes.
He became a director of the
Wilton Carpet Company.
And he wrote at least one book, didn't he?
Yes, there's a book there. Just where your hand is.
I will let you look at it afterwards.
That's it.
Yes. Story of British Carpets by Raymond Jacobs, which was published in 1968.
Yeah.
Right. And he also, in the Second World War, was he an officer then?
Well, there again, I was away. I was in Java and in Australia, and I can't give you details. I've only, he rose to the rank of major, and I understand he saw service in Italy. Maybe North Africa, but I'm not sure.
And of course he became deeply involved in Jewish communal life. It started off where? At the LJS
in 1936, Bertram met his wife Phyllis. She was Phyllis Kahn, K-A-H-N, and her family lived in Paynes Lane. The house is now demolished. It was a Doreen house. It was a very beautiful house, and I think it's become a block of flats in Paynes Lane. Anyway, with Phyllis, they both became interested in liberal Judaism, and Phyllis actually worked with Lily Montague, and later she went everywhere with Bertram and helped him with his meetings and activities.
Doing a lot, as you
Yeah.
said, to the country, didn't
I think he was very grateful to Phyllis, to whom he owed a lot. He owed a lot to her.
Seemed when I knew Bertram to get a lot of satisfaction from various things he did do for the synagogues and Rehoboth College. Do you know how he got involved in Rehoboth College?
I really don't know.
No, well, he was, honestly, those of us who knew him, he was a remarkable man. Do you have any other comment on him?
Well, he was a great traveller. He combined business with pleasure. He travelled a lot in Europe, in Sweden, Scandinavia. In fact, while he was in Sweden, he found we had some cousins there. I think on my mother's side, and we've been in touch with them for some time, but in the last few years I haven't heard any more.
So do you know how Bertram became involved in also Northwood? He came from synagogue from the beginning, was it?
Well, Bertram was attached to the LJS, and he was a steward in St John's Wood, and so at first he didn't come to services in Pinner and Northwood. But later on, I think he transferred his membership to Northwood a few years after I did.
Your mother, she just check this.
Is it all right?
Your mother, did she remain active and interested in her later years and interested in life?
She was always very active.
Remain independent?
Yes, but I can't say she had any particular interests. I think her chief anxiety until she became old was bringing up her family.
Yeah.
Of course, she had quite a strenuous life, having to bring us up on her own without any help.
Because of the widowed so young, yes.
Yeah, by losing our father when we were so young. And I think she was very sorry that she had to send me away. But that must have affected her.
Did she know, what age did she, was it, did she have any career before she married? Or those days it wasn't really young, your mother? She married young, did she?
Yes. Perhaps in her 20s.
They were living with their both, she came to Manchester and somehow they met up.
Yes. I don't know how they met.
Right, as regards any old photographs or documents from the family that were dispersed or went to public with other as such as?
I can't think of any documents or photos. There's only this book.
Yes.
There is also another book which he published. I've got it somewhere. About carpets.
I think, yes, we seem to have covered most of the areas, and historically, I think that you told me your grandparents all that you say, really don't know anything much about that they were born in England, just respectively in Newcastle and Manchester. You don't know
I really don't know.
anything more. But what did you? Any idea what your grandparents did?
No.
Well, anything else you think of mentioning of interest as far as your life or your family and your congregation?
I can't think of anything else.
No, the early days of the congregation, there were of course other people who were around who
I was one of the early members.
you say when we first met at West House, and then you remember when we got the building and got it all over, I suppose. Did you help to do it up at all?
Oh yes, I helped to decorate Hallowell Row.
It was rather a dilapidated mess when it was first
It was. It needed all redecorating, and I think I painted part of one of the walls. There was nothing special.
Then I suppose it was fairly satisfying occasion when it was first used and consecrated.
Yes, I liked it very much there. It was a church, but it was very suitable as a synagogue.
As you say, you were in the choir under Alan Lewis from the early days.
Right from the beginning.
Don't remember, I suppose, Andrew coming as a student rabbi once again.
Oh yes, that's right. I remember his ordination.
Sort of fitted in with the congregation right from the beginning.
Yes, we're very lucky to have him.
Well, thank you, Raymond. I think people can think of anything else.
Yes. There's one thing I'd like to say. It's nothing to do with the Jewish religion, but in 1983 I was nearly blind through cataract, and I was only saved through our excellent National Health Service, and without them I would never have recovered my sight.
You had the operation for inserting an artificial lens.
Yeah.
In both eyes.
Both eyes, yeah.
Yes, so that was making life very difficult for you, didn't it? So you felt increasingly blind.
It did at the time, but I'm very grateful now that I can see quite well.
When did you move? You moved from the house in the Wellington Avenue?
5 years ago.
Convenient track, and you still get around with the private car, you know?
I don't drive. Tina drives.
Otherwise, you're reasonably happy enough in your retirement here.
Oh yes. I'm not very active. I can't walk very well.
It's difficult as you get older. Tina's a few years younger than you, is she?
Yes.
I suppose for the record, you have a maiden name. What is
Peterse. Peterse. And
how did she come to be in the Farmers?
well, she was born in Delft, in Holland, and her family moved to Java very early on and settled there. Java was then part of the Dutch East Indies.
She spoke Dutch. I suppose she still speaks Dutch, doesn't she?
She speaks Dutch and I speak Dutch.
Thank you very much.
Do you think it's recorded all right?